about formerly incarcerated and some of the challenges of reentry. And once again, that's formerly incarcerated population and the challenges of reentry and coping during COVID-19. Before we get started, I just want to take just a couple minutes to allow a few more people to log on. And then around 1:35, which is in the next 3 minutes, we're going to get started. Okay, you guys?
Sounds good.
Sounds good?
Sounds good. It's Brother Khalid. Peace to you.
Oh, what's going on, Brother Khalid? It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
It's a blessing to be here.
Yeah, we already have Brother Josiah on the line. We have Miss Cardi Taylor. We have Miss Kelli Turner. We're waiting on Miss Georgia Horton to also join with us. And we're going to wait for a couple more minutes to allow a few more people to come on, and then we're going to get started. You guys ready?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
If I could add, I just want to say to everyone, it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this panel. I've been looking so forward to doing things like this, and God is finally starting to bless me, and my trajectory is headed in the right direction. And I just want you guys to know how appreciative I am of this opportunity. I'm looking forward to having fun.
Brother, it's an honor on this end also. Thank you so much, good brother. And sisters, blessings to you. You know that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We have a few people that's already tuning in right now with us. We got about 12 people or so. I don't know how many people that's on Facebook that's watching us, but want to make sure. Oh, Miss Cecilia says you as well. So I'm excited. I'm excited. So also we have Miss Jennifer that is with us, who is our office assistant. She's going to be running technical support. So here's the thing. We're going to go over our house rules. And but she and a couple other people will be monitoring your chats, your questions and concerns, because we want to make sure that we are able to address some of them, or when our panelists begin to ask questions with the attendees or the audience, that you guys will be able to get some of your questions out there, or your concerns and statements, okay? Excellent. So be patient with us. But I think we're doing pretty good right now. I'm feeling good.
Sister, you a general. Kelly, you a general.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Oh, and so Sister Georgia is with us. So we got Georgia on the line. She was able to join us as well. Sister Georgia, you there? Let me see if Sister Georgia is there. Make sure that she is not muted in any way. Let me see. You see, because I see it says she's joining as a co-host. Thought she was here by now. Okay.
She's here. She is here. Her sound is not on.
Okay. Miss Georgia, if you see the little microphone button, can you please unmute your button for me? Good afternoon. Somebody all the way coming from Lancaster. Okay, we got Lancaster in the house. We got Oakland in the house. We got Northern Cali in the house.
Man.
We got Compton in the house.
Compton.
Yes. So we all over today. Okay, so let's begin to get started. Miss Georgia, are you able to unmute your speaker? Okay. All right, so let's get started. Welcome everybody to our trauma awareness series that is presented by the Positive Results Corporation. My name is Kelli Dillon. I am the program director for the Positive Results. And we're here with you live today to talk about the formerly incarcerated population, as well as the challenges of re-entry and coping during COVID-19. We have a lot of, because this is what they call the prison capital of the world, we have 33 prisons in the state of California. And so with 33 prisons, you already know we are not just housing criminals or those who have committed crimes or whatever, but we're housing mothers, daughters, fathers, brothers. And I think it was one of my colleagues by the name of Ben Owens Taco. He says that they're not Ninja Turtles or people that commit crimes or gang members. They're not Ninja Turtles where they just come out of the ground from nowhere. They come from communities. They come from family. And so when we have people that are coming home from these places, they're coming back home to our community. So, but here's the thing. We know that over the past years and decades of formerly incarcerated, there has been numerous challenges that we have, I'm gonna say we, because I'm also a part of the formerly incarcerated population, is many challenges that we have faced. And so we are here to address some of them. Hopefully we can give support with the dynamic panelists that we have. So here's the thing. The purpose and objective of this discussion is for formerly incarcerated authors and community leaders and service providers to engage in a discussion with the community with the community to receive inspiration, create a new lens which to view the dynamics of this specific population. And these main objectives are going to help us combat stigmas, misconceptions, and stereotypes related to trauma in formerly incarcerated people and responses to it. This will also help to support formerly incarcerated youth, transitional age youth, and adults with understanding the challenges of reentry to addressing trauma and responses, and also to change the narrative that will support and influence the potential for positive outcomes of formerly incarcerated persons. Are we ready for this discussion to take place?
Beautiful.
I think we are.
Absolutely.
So let's meet some of our expert speakers. So today we have Miss Kelli Jermaine Turner, who is a former resident of Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla, California, which is where I met Miss Kelli at, who became a dear sister of mine, where she served 13 years of a 20-year to life sentence due to the 3-strike law. Kelli is the founder of AIM High Transitional Home for young ladies 18 to 24 years of age, currently homeless or at risk of homelessness, in hope of expanding her efforts to create a healthy community. Ms. Kelli, would you like to say hello to our attendees today?
Absolutely, and thank you, Kelli, for allowing me to be a participant in this wonderful and much needed, sensitive conversation. And I just want to say, if anyone has any questions, I am not ashamed of where I come from or what I've done. And I am an open book. So formerly from South Central Los Angeles, now living in the Central Valley. And, you know, hey, from South Central, the hood.
Hey.
You guys get it. You guys get the lifestyle that led me to be part of the formerly incarcerated community.
Thank you. So it's from LA to the Bay, huh?
Hey.
Okay. So next we have Mr. Josiah Lewis, who is the Executive Director at Crush Coalition, a community-based organization committed to health, education, financial, and social upliftment through strategic evidence-based programs in collaboration with other nonprofit community-based organizations, such as Soledad Enrichment, which is SAYA, Southern California Crossroads, Chapter 2 in the House, Chapter 2 Inc., the Los Angeles Unified School District, CUSD, and other faith-based organizations and stakeholders. Brother Josiah, can you please introduce yourself to the attendees?
Hey, Sister Kelli. Absolutely. You've done such a fabulous job of putting this together, Kelli, and I love you. I want to put that right out front. And as I said before we went live, to all the other esteemed guests and expert speakers, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. I too hail from South Central in the Compton area, and I've been a prisoner before in California Department of Corrections, so I know all too well what that's like. I'm looking forward to imparting my wisdom, some of the things I learned and some of the things that helped me recapture who I really am.
Thank you, Brother Josiah. Appreciate you. So up next, is Georgia Horton on the line? Okay, so she's still trying to get on, and we'll double back and we'll introduce her as she begins to speak. But we also have Brother, wait a minute, I think I missed one person. No, I didn't, I haven't. So we also have Brother Khalid Shah is the former and executive director of Stop the Violence and Increase the Peace Foundation. Shah created the first agency to effectively address gang and domestic violence in Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and Riverside County. Khalid Shah founded the Inland Empire Violence Prevention Coalition. Shah has long ago left behind the life of a gang leader and felon, now to earn his living and living his life as a peace ambassador, highly respected by over 130 communities, city, and government entities. Brother Khalid Shah, can you please introduce yourself to the attendees today?
First of all, sister, I want to give praise and honor to God. Thank you. Thank Sister Candy for providing a platform for us to be able to talk about the blessings that has come out of the efforts of the panelists and those folks who have been working very, very hard to make sure that our community is a better place. So I want to thank you, but I also want to say this. You know, I pray and I hope that out of this discussion comes another roadmap for those brothers and sisters behind bars who are dealing with the issues, as Sister said before, of shame, the issues of shame. Because at the end of the day, this society has shamed us out of our blessings. So I'm hoping that we can let them know. I've been to the White House, I've been to the whole, but I've been to the White House. I've sat down with governors, sat down and had lunch with them at their house, and I've been to SHU units. So at the end of the day, there is nothing to be ashamed about. You know, just be blessed. And I'm hoping, I'm open to any questions, conversations, and I'm looking forward to this panel.
Thank you, Brother Khalid. I appreciate that. So moving forward, we have Miss Cardi Taylor, who is newly home, one of our sisters who are just now coming home, but now she's beginning to make huge step in the communities where she's at. Cardi Taylor is a certified AOD counselor and is active in her position at Young Women's Freedom Center in Oakland, California, as a participatory. That was kind of hard for me for a minute. Defense advocacy. And Cardi was 17 years old when she was fighting death row. And at the age of 22, she was sentenced to an LWOP. That's what we call it in the pen. We call it an LWOP.
Right.
But
Yeah.
without the possibility of parole. After 22 years, Cardi was finally granted parole, and she has been actively pursuing her goal as a motivational speaker, helping men and women understand the effects of, number one, domestic violence, especially as a child survivor. Because that's the thing, is that we need more voices that speak to the child survivor. And her passion is to become an inspiring author and writing her book and achieve her bachelor's degree in sociology. Miss Cardi Taylor, can you please say hello to everyone?
Hey everyone, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we got you, sister.
All right, first off, I want to say that I'm very humble and grateful to be on here. I'm really grateful for my sisters that I seen growing up inside. And the whole purpose too is just not even writing a book, but the main thing is breaking those cycles, those generational curses, those things that's been on for years. So speaking our truth, coming out with our testimony and not holding nothing back, like the brother just said, that can do nothing but hold and break those yokes. So glad to be here. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm just grateful.
All right, thank you, Cardi. And Miss Vanessa Lewis, are you on?
Hello, Kelly, I'm here.
Yes, hi, Miss Vanessa.
Hey, Goddess. Hello, all you beautiful people. I am so, thank you. I'm so excited to be present. I'm so excited to hear y'all's testimony. And I'm so grateful to be able to just come and love up on you at the end of everybody sharing their power. So ashe and blessings to y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Vanessa. Miss Vanessa is a queer, fat, Black, feminine performance artist, facilitator, educator, writer, activist, and fairy princess, mermaid gangster for the revolution, baby. That I don't think nobody has her resume. I don't think nobody has it. But Vanessa founded Reclaim Ugly, an organization that works to end look-based discrimination. Wow. okay? Violence and Exclusion in 2019. She is currently the artist in resident at the Young Women's Freedom Center and the Positive Results Corporation, and on the leadership team of creating freedom movements and so much more. Thank you, Vanessa. Appreciate you being with us. And last but not least, it is moi. It's moi. It's Kelli. So I am the project director of the Positive Results Corporation, in addition to being the vice president of the Southeast Neighborhood Council. And I'm also on the LA City Commissioner Board for the Community of Family and Community Service in the city of Los Angeles. I'm certified in so much more, but for the sake of time, I just want to get down to this presentation. So we ready? Let's roll. House rule. So we want all of your phones and sound and speakers on mute while your speaker is talking, unless we address you, and then or you got a question or a concern, because we just want to make sure that, you know, there's no background noise or the kids are screaming and stuff like that. Also, if you have a comment, if you guys know how to utilize Zoom, you can use the raise your hand feature, and then we are able to get that feedback for you. Also, put your comments or your concerns in the chat box. Remember, I said that Miss Jennifer, Miss Beautiful Jennifer, will be monitoring the team, and also she'll be letting us know what comments come up. As well as you can learn from experience, it doesn't always have to be your own. So let's get started. So in the state of California, as I said, we have 33 prison correctional facilities. In that, we know that during COVID-19, that they're said that they were going to release at least 3,500 inmates early due to the COVID-19 outbreak. So that means that at least, we know that's a small number, but let's look at, we're gonna have 5,000 more formerly incarcerated that are coming home at one time. And here's the thing, what are the resources, or where can we go in order to receive the resources for that particular population? Also, California Department of Correction and Rehabilitation houses 130,000 youth and adults. Wow. And we know out of that 130,000 people that they have, and that's within a year's time. So mind you, people are coming in and out. So that's how many people they house per year. And it's estimated that throughout the state of the United States that there are over 5 million formerly incarcerated people. 5 million, right? So, and we will eventually be released. So let's get started. So with that being said, how do we go from being formerly incarcerated to transitioning? And so Mr. Josiah is going to talk about that.
Well, I'm going to talk about a little bit about some of the things that helped me plant my feet on solid ground and navigate the way forward. You have to have your mind ready from going to the type of environment you're in, a 6x8 cell, where you're in a hyper-vigilant atmosphere, where you're in a structured situation and everything is decided for you. What time you go to breakfast, what time you go to dinner, what time you lock up for lights out. You got to get your mind prepared and start planning for when you hit what we call the real world. Now, the whole time we in here is what some people call the abysmal crypt. I tried to use it as like a hidden university. I learned a whole lot about myself and a lot about other people. And like Kelli said, the vast majority of people who are incarcerated have a release date. And those who don't have a release date are generally looking to get back in court so they can have one. So we must prepare ourselves for the real world. That entailed for me sticking to the script. And I want to touch on that a little bit, and I'm going to be vulnerable about it, because we have a lot of challenges when it comes down to sticking to the script, okay? The number one thing you gotta be is self-driven. You can't expect, well, I couldn't expect anybody to do anything for me. I had to get down with what I had put down on paper, and I had to stay focused. When I came out, there was a lot of distractions. And it seemed like all the things that I had planned kind of went by the wayside as soon as I hit the ground. I was running, the world was moving a lot faster than I expected it to be, things didn't necessarily pan out the way I wanted to be. So in order to bring myself back, I had to come into focus. And I did that by outlining a daily schedule and did as much as I could to stick to it. And I also tapped into determination, because while everything is going on around you, you got to be determined to stay down with whatever that plan is, whatever that thing is you said that was going to propel you forward. That took having a different mindset. My mindset prior to going to prison was I didn't want to be around certain groups of people that I thought would be square or having regular jobs. I wasn't programmed for that prior to. And I had to really change my mindset in the way I thought about what my future looked like and what was cool and what wasn't. I also had to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because I found that in a lot of situations, I was just uncomfortable with, and that was a personal thing. I had to take a few jobs that I didn't see myself doing, that for some reason, I had put this lofty goal for myself, that I was above certain things. But I had to get in the know of working. Prior to being incarcerated, I hadn't had many real jobs. And that was just facts. So I had to wrap my mind around what that's like and what it's like dealing with people in working class society. And so one way I was able to sustain and hold steadfast to what I wanted to do was realizing I was doing something for a purpose. I was trying to change my outlook on life and make myself a better person, to be exemplary for my children and the people in my life and my community. And so I did that. I also learned quickly that I had strengths that I didn't know I had that would be applicable to a workplace environment. And I tried to find as many ways as I could to make my strengths relevant in whatever environment I was in. We always want to try to make ourselves relevant, because we are, we all have a good purpose. We all can bring something to the community and to society that'll be beneficial. And then I had to take a hard look at my skill sets and some of the things I needed to do to get up to par with what was being asked of people in the work environment. And I feel like that all started in that abysmal crypt when I sat there and plotted my course, and I had to plug in these particular tools to get to where I am today. I was released November 30th, 2009. And to be honest with you, because we are in a vulnerable space here, over the last few years is when I just started to hit my stride. Praise be to God. And I'm still on a trajectory, and I'm in it for the long haul.
Right. Thank you, Brother Josiah. And we'll hear some more back from you. But adjusting to life after prison, as you just talked about, is a time for new beginnings. The time following a sentence can be filled with second chances and opportunities, and especially when the former prisoner returns to society, as you said, Brother Josiah, prepared, that the work has to begin. As I go back, you said the work has to begin before reentry even begins.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if I may add to that as well, sister, without taking too much time, as much as we want to stick to the script, there was another thing I learned too, that a plan that can't be changed is a bad plan. So I had not to be so rigid about what I had outlined, and I had to make it to where I can navigate and adjust as I go, because things might not go exactly verbatim as you plan it, that you have written down. And so it was very important, because I started to suffer a bit of anxiety initially, because, when you inside, things are done for you. We've been there. When you outside, things are expected of you. And the initial come home is beautiful. But as a man, after a while, you expected to produce and provide. And so bills have to be paid every first of the month, and excuses and explanations won't suffice. So you got to get out there and put yourself in a position, and it might take some rearranging and reworking your plan. But that's something that you got to do if you're going to be successful.
Yeah, Brother Josiah, you made a statement that really stood out to me. And what you said is that inside, things are done for you. But when you come home, things are expected of you, right? Which is sometimes, and so here's the thing, through those expectations, which leads us to our another this right now, which is the conditions that lead to parole. That lead to recidivism. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
if you can read a couple of those for me, please, I appreciate it.
Okay, absolutely. Recidivism rate in California hovers around 60 to 65%. Substance use among former prisoners presents significant challenges to the reentry process. I'm gonna stick a pin in that right there. That's so true.
Right.
And then I'm gonna just speak to marijuana, for instance. It's legal, but it can prevent you from getting a career type job or a job at any rate. So we need to be mindful of that. I don't really know what they're doing about as far as violating people on parole and probation for using cannabis, but it can definitely be a deterrent in you securing jobs for yourself. And also it goes on to say, studies have shown that while 83% of state prisoners have a history of drug use, only a small fraction receive treatment while incarcerated after release.
Right. Yes. So thank you, Josiah. I appreciate that. One of these, in which I know the attendees can read it themselves, but one thing that sticks out to me is the lack of community support and also family support. So I'm gonna go on to say is that, like you say, most of us that's speaking today, we were what they consider to be long-termers, meaning that we did at least over 10 years worth of time. And that's between Cardi and you yourself. There's over time, if it can accumulate. If you deal with recidivism, it can continue to accumulate decade after decade after decade till you find out that 30 years of your life, you 55 or 52 years old, but 30 years of your life has been spent incarcerated. So what that's saying is that, but what happens when the challenges of reentry is due to the family reunification. So I said reunited and it feels so good. So I'm gonna talk about that because that was one of the situations that I went through that almost sent me back in due to the frustration of that. So here we are in 1999. We love you. 2009 and went by a whole decade. We've missed you because you've been gone for 10 years. But now you back home. It's 2019, you back home, but we don't know you, right? And I know that that is something that we have all heard from our family, especially if we was gone for some years, is that we love you, we know who you are, but we don't know who you are, right? We don't know you. That was something that I went through. So like I'm just gonna give you a little bit. So when I paroled in 2009, I had been away from my children for 15 years. I also served that time at CCWF, which is Central California Women's Facility. And so when I got home, mind you, we did letters, we did visits. I sent money home. I was, birthdays. I never missed a birthday. I got a phone call once a week. I was one of the fortunate ones. So when I got home, and it was time for me to now play the mommy role, then what happened for me is that they say, hold up, we don't know you like that, So I was like, well, you knew me enough to accept the call. You knew me enough to accept the money I was shooting back to the house. How you don't know me? So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. It says, presenting who you are versus what they've been told. So what I had to realize is that my past was waiting on me. A lot of times we feel that we fresh now, we got a new lease on life. We did a little bit of recovery while incarcerated and everything, but the past is waiting for you to parole as well. So all of those issues that you might have been dealing with while incarcerated, or your family dynamics, or the past abuse, or the uncle that molested you, he's still going to the family reunions, you know what I'm saying? So in that situation is that I was trying to, in the first at least 2-3 years, prove to them that who I was is not who they've been told, because they've been told by people who have bitterness towards me. They may have been told about who their mama was or who Kelli was for people in the community that had issues with me. You get what I'm saying? So it's all this negative persona in which my reunification, I had to start over. I had to prove to them that I wasn't who they said I was. And then, so with that being said, is that I was caught up also in the subconscious effort to make up for lost time. Now, here's the thing. When I started looking at the fact that I hadn't been around my family in 15 years, what hit me was that the family I had left behind in prison. I had a family in prison. I had a mama in there. I had sisters and brothers that was incarcerated, you know, with me. I had kids that called me granny, that looked up to me, that I looked out for. And so I was trying to compensate. And so there was times, I don't know if everybody will be real about it. It was times that looking into going back into prison seemed to be much more better than being there at home. I was like, man, y'all could have left me in prison if I was going to be going through all of this. You get what I'm saying? And I don't know how many people have had that thought, but I know a lot of people, I've heard it out of a lot of people's mouths. So I had a subconscious efforts to make up for lost time. They were holding me also to the promises. So when we say, oh, baby, you know, I'm saying for the guys, like, yeah, baby, when I get there, you ain't got to worry about me fixing the fence and mowing the lawn. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You've been tired. I'm going to do all of that. And so they've been waiting for 10 years for their man to get home so he can mow the lawn, right? And so those type of things is what they hold you to. They hold you to everything you said in the letter, everything you said in the visits. Also, the standard of living under the same roof, okay? So this is how they've been living without you. So, you know, I'm gonna say how many of you guys have been accused of institutionalization?
Yes.
Because I understand why we don't have things lined up in the cabinet where you can see what's in the cabinet. You feel me? Or why the fact that it's 5 people in a house, but you rotating these showers at a time where it's fair to everybody to get out this door. You feel me? So yeah, some people. So Trish said it's called jail mannerism or prison mannerisms, right? But I was saying, oh, mama, you institutionalized. I'm like, y'all just inconsiderate. That's the problem. And so there was an issue, and then so it became conflict where the people in my life was saying, oh, I don't care how you ran it in your room in prison, you ain't finna run it out here like this. You feel me? Because we've been running shit without you. So that's what they said to me, right? So Brother Khalil shaking his head. Brother, you been accused of running some stuff when you came home, brother?
Absolutely, sister.
What about you? And see, here's the thing. Most of the people that's on this, that's an expert, have strong personalities. And some of the sisters that's on here, I know that they was running their rooms because their rooms was 2 rooms away from mine. So I already know you had an issue with trying to run things when you got home. But if you guys holler if you hear me, holler if you hear me. Also becoming healthy and functional for society, right? So still exist in a dysfunctional environment and family. So here's the thing. You talked about making the change prior to coming home. So here's the thing about prison. We've had the opportunity to be separated from the distractions, separated from the temptations and different things that go on that keep us from growth. We don't have nothing but time to focus on all the things that's wrong with us and the things to move forward. But our families and our homies and the community that we grew up in is still dysfunctional. And so that's the issue. That's the issue. How do you keep what you've accumulated and you got to still go back to the same environment that triggered you in the first place, right? So that's another thing of some of the issues in which the challenges we face. And it's why it's so important, and I know the brothers and the sisters are going to talk about the support system, and Brother Khalid is going to talk about some of the things that they're doing, but that is the reason why it's so important that you have that. The option to remain or separate yourself. So here's the thing, is that if that's the only place you have to go, then how do you separate yourself when that's the address you gave your parole officer? And everything that you anytime you make a move, you have to get his or her permission. So it's like, how do I separate myself for the sake of my freedom, for the sake of my recovery? How do you do that? And the times of no support or acknowledgement of your efforts. So here's the thing, while my professional life, while I was going to school, graduating, getting certificates, while I was making all of this professional progress, my personal life was completely whack. I didn't have, not every time I got an award or anything like that, there wasn't a family member in sight. And I had to find out within myself that if I don't have nobody clapping, and if I don't have nobody that's there for me, do I still move forward for the sake of what I want for my own life? And so that's something that when you're in the position that you are right now, because I hear a lot of my sisters that's coming home like, man, I don't got nobody. And in my family, they trying to set me up to go back. It's the fact that you might have to separate yourself, and you might not supporting and or acknowledgement of your efforts at all. But why are you changing? Who is the change actually for? So that was what some of my challenges, right? So Cardi, I know that you got a few things that you want to talk about. So I'm gonna let you express how it's been since you've been home, because you fresh home. Some of us,
Yeah.
we've been home for a while, but you fresh home. So talk a little bit about your experiences and what you're going through.
Okay. Yeah, first off, thank you again for allowing me to be here and have this opportunity to have my voice heard. I'm gonna talk a little bit about PTSD due to incarceration. The definition of PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. That's the actual name, and it is a psychiatric disorder that can occur in people who have experienced or witnessed a traumatic event such as a natural disaster, a serious accident, a terrorist act, war, combat, incarceration, rape, or other violent personal assault. People with PTSD have intense, disturbing thoughts and feelings related to their experience that last long after the traumatic event has ended. And which brings me to 70.
Cardi.
Yes.
Cardi, do me a favor. Can you please, are you able, do you want to show your picture? Because your picture is off right now. We want to see your beautiful face.
Okay, is there a way you can put my picture up?
Yeah, it could be put up. Yeah, so just put the start video, because we just see you talking.
Oh, okay.
Or did you know? Yeah. Because I remember seeing you earlier.
Yeah, I have to see what happened there. So I'm still trying to get this technology. Okay.
It's all right, baby. You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
There you go.
Am I up? Can you see me?
Gotcha. Right.
Okay, I can't see me. Okay, I'm on though, right?
You're there.
Okay, all right. So
we can see you. We can see you.
Okay. So with that being said, like 70% of people experience traumatic trauma or something called secondary trauma. So if you see like the police stopping somebody, pulling somebody over, if you see a fight, if you see if you hear yelling, anything that kind of jog you, that can be considered secondary trauma. If you're in an earthquake and you're shaken up about it. Also, trauma can be direct trauma, where you're the one actually in the fight. You're the one actually going through the motions. So those are trauma. But 20% of people end up having PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. When you're incarcerated, that rate is even higher due to incarceration and things that you experience in there. What triggers my PTSD is when I got out. After doing a whole lot of times, like I said, just growing up more so in prison, being in there more than I've been out, when I got out, one of the things I did was I chose to kind of move away from my family and go into a program because I wanted to know that I can make it on my own. I didn't want to fall back into the trap of being dependent on family. I wanted to know that I can make it and survive on my own. So I went to a program, and what I didn't realize was, you know, I thought that I would get out and use all the tools that I learned in there over the years and could come out and just jump right back into society because what? Now I have the tools. I was taught different. Well, that was kind of wrong. I got out, and one of the things I noticed was everything was moving so fast. When I would go to a restaurant, it was crowded. I would just out the blue get overwhelmed, and I would have to go somewhere where it wasn't a lot of people because I felt like everything was just moving fast and I couldn't keep up. The technology was so overwhelming. But one of the things I started noticing happen was this, like I would write a letter and I would just mail it without sealing it because that's what I've been doing for years. And I would get my mail back and it was like, you need to seal it. And I'm like, I can seal it? And they were like, yeah. So I had to learn that all over. I would step outside and I would go to the sidewalk. If I was to hit like the police cars coming or any sirens, the first thing I wanted to do was drop and sit on the ground and let it pass by. I had to learn how to not do that. I remember I went to San Diego and I started working on a ship. Well, on the ship in San Diego, they hired a lot of parolees. But to get on the ship too, you have guys, it's the military ship, so they have guns. So walking in there with them having guns, that was normal to me, to where somebody can say, oh my God, they're holding a gun. Well, it was normal to me because of the watchtowers. And then when I used to be an asset a lot, and I would always see them with guns. But the thing that amazes me was I was on a ship, and then a coworker of mine who's been in the same place as me and we grew up together was on that same ship. We both heard at the same time what sounded like an alarm and a bullhorn that said to get down. Me and her both went to go and get down, only to find out that it wasn't even being said. So how could two people hear something exactly the same that's been through the exact same thing, but really wasn't there? So these are the things that being incarcerated can do. It's like I stepped out into a war zone where my comfort zone was actually where I was at and where I was raised for more than half my life of being out. The effect of this COVID-19, and I know it might sound strange, but I have to always keep it real. I'm in my comfort zone. I'm in my element. I'm locked down. I feel, wow. I don't feel, and like I said, I just got to keep it real. I don't feel as if something's being taken from me. I feel as if, okay, I can do it. I got my locker. I have cabinets where I keep my food in, or because I'm living in the garage. It's like, okay, I got my locker full. I have my water. I have everything I need. I'm stocked. I'm good. I can watch TV. I'm cool. It brings on down to the language that I use. But let me back up a little bit too. So another thing that's going on dealing with COVID, and I've talked to other girls who have like literally recently got out too, like within a week or two. They're having issues as far as like, you know, getting their ID, getting their birth certificates. It's like they leave from one institution to come out here into another institution. So them coming out here, they are coming and stepping into something that they're familiar with, lockdown, coming from one lockdown to the other, but then to know they're free, they having this urgency. Was like, man, my life is on hold because whatever's going on. And then it's even like, well, will it ever end, or is this going to be my new normal? Will I be out here without no identity, without, you know, a job, without people knowing that I'm really free, or without being able to have access to my loved ones or my family? So those are things that's triggers too, and it can create and extend along the lines of PTSD. However, going back to me taking my mind frame, when they were like, well, we're going on a homestay, I was with my family. We were doing a memorial service. The family came together. We was doing an anniversary memorial service for my mom, who has passed away since I've been in there, but it was my first time seeing her and all my loved ones who had passed away. I had a cousin that came and said, well, you know, they're talking about doing a homestay to where everybody have to go in their homes. So I said, what? They're going to lock us down? Well, my family looked at me funny, but I looked at them funny, like, y'all ain't understanding it. They finna lock us down. What's finna go on? I changed my flight. When they told the homestay, I changed my flight. I was supposed to go home 2 days later, but I got on the plane because the first thing that I wanted to do, and it's sad to say when I think about it, was I wanted to go lock it in my room. I wanted to make sure that I was not out of bounds, and that's another language. I'll talk about the language too. I wanted to make sure that I was safe in where I was established at, because first off, I didn't want to violate parole, because I feel like if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, they can come and get me and put me back in prison. Just like related to, if you're not in your room, that's considered out of bounds, then they can come and give you an infraction, write you up, or do however it is, in which I experienced this on the inside. So these are correlations to PTSD and trauma that is not normal, but is normal to me. So I changed my flight to come back out here. My family was sad, like, well, why can't you just stay? I said, you don't understand. I have to get back. I have to go, and I have to, if we're going to be locked in, then I have to be back where basically where I'm confined. So coming back here, it was more so my comfort zone. I got on an early flight. I did my shopping, and then I came here and was like, okay. So with that being, that's my normal, even though it's not normal. The language phrase, I use the language lockdown. I use the language, I'm not going outside. I don't want to be out of bounds. What if my PO pop up? I don't want to go back to jail. So I lose these different languages that other people don't understand. But unless you firmly incarcerated, and then I noticed they use the same language that I use to where we understand each other. So I find myself gravitating to the people who's been locked up like me. It's like, to me, they're more like, they understand, they get me, and then I feel like I'm heard more so than people who don't, or my family was like how Kelli says, like, you're not anymore. Stop talking like you're in prison. How can someone tell us we've been in here more than our life? How can you tell me that I'm not there? This is a new norm. No, it's to me, it's the other way around. Let me acclimate it into it.
Right. So Cardi,
yeah.
I want to say, wait a minute, Cardi, before we move forward, because we've already, we're moving forward, but I want, because somebody has a question for you. So let me get started. Yeah. But I want, because somebody has a question for you. Brother Ken, you have a question for, I believe, Cardi, right? What would you like to say, Brother Ken?
First and foremost, I just want to say thank you, all of you, for showing up for this event, and I appreciate and I'm honored just to get an opportunity to listen. I'm one of those guys who likes to talk a lot, but I'm gonna try and improve on that today and be a real good listener. Cardi, I want to let you know, first and foremost, I heard you and I listened very carefully, and as you continued, I respected and realized what I think is valuable is to let you get that stuff out. I didn't hear exactly when you got out. Can you tell me right quick?
Yeah, I got out in March of last year.
Okay, so welcome home.
Thank you.
I'll give just one touch of a backstory. I just reconnected with the man. I haven't seen him yet because of this pandemic, who grew up with me, who just got out after 25 years. And it breaks my heart. I'll continue by saying I didn't serve any time. I didn't serve decades or years in state penitentiaries or federal penitentiaries. I was very much committed to the county jail system. I think that's a way of putting it, and the juvenile justice system. So I understand from firsthand experience lockup. But here was my question for you with just that little bit of background. As my heart was saying, man, what can I do to be a benefit to this system? What can I do? And I'm hoping all of you here will, I'm not sure whether I'll stay. I might stay the whole time. If it's 2 hours, I might be able to stay the whole time. But even if I have to bounce, I'll reach back later. I'm very much a do guy and a structure guy. And how can we make a difference?
Okay, so Brother Ken asked, how can you guys make a difference? How can he make a difference? And so what we're going to do is, Cardi, I'm going to also connect you with Brother Ken and give you his email, if that's okay. Cardi, is that okay? Ken, Brother Ken, that's cool? Okay, cool. So, and also, we'll make the connection. And if you guys want to connect with anybody that you see that's here, like put your email in the chat area, or either send us an email directly and let us know, like, hey, I want to talk more with Josiah, I want to talk more with Kelli or Cardi, and we'll make sure that we get the connection, because that's what they're here for as well. Cardi, so thank you, Cardi. We're going to get back, and we're going to have some final thoughts from you. I appreciate that, right? Oh, wow. What did I just do? What did I just do? Hold on. Okay, got you. All right, so let's go. It's so much. All right. So next we have, which is Ms. Kelli Turner. So another part of that is Cardi was talking about what she heard, right? Even though she heard, she said her and Nikki said that they heard everybody get down. But they were the only two out of everybody else who heard that. I know it sounds funny. I'm not laughing at her. I'm actually laughing with her, because we talked about that. But also other voices. So we hear certain things that bring us back to that place and that trauma. But Kelli Turner is going to talk about silencing the voices of your past and your trauma. KT.
Again, thank you, everyone. This is powerful. So I want to kind of recap, because what I have to share really aligns with a lot of the things that have already been said today. And so Josiah, you said work, the work begins before reentry. And so for years, I've been home since September 2009. For years, I've said I started working on the inside of me while I was inside. So when you said that, I can totally, totally relate. You also said that inside things are done for you and outside expected for you. I'm going to steal that from you. I just want to say that's really, really awesome. But I'm big on words. And so words and PTSD definitely do come into play, right? To give an example of a recent PTSD that I was extremely shocked to rear its ugly head again. 3 days after being released in 2009, I was home by myself for the first time, and I had an anxiety attack. Had to get somebody on the phone, started hyperventilating and all of that, because it had been so many years since I was alone. Well, fast forward to this new shelter in place. And 6 weeks after the shelter in place goes into effect, I am finally home by myself. That same feeling that came 3 days after being released and being home by myself came again, and I had an anxiety attack. So yes, PTSD is so very real. And I have, you can say, resided to the fact that there will probably be a portion of my emotions that will be doing life all of my life because of the PTSD. And so I'm in prison, I'm sitting on my bed, and I'm trying to figure out, how can I go from being this really bitter and miserable, right? Just straight out miserable person. And I realized that I'm hearing all these voices that were told to me growing up. So if I can, keep it real and just lose the microphone voice and trying to be politically correct and using all the right grammar and all that, I'm just going to kick the real. So I'm hearing my mother tell me, and excuse my language, but I'm going to give it to you like she gave it to me.
Come on with it.
I would hear my mother say, "You're nothing but a bitch. You'll never amount to nothing, just like your goddamn daddy." Or I would hear my father say, "Look at you. If you don't change your ways, you're going to be dead or in jail before the age of 21. 19, I'm in prison for my first time," right? So all of these things are coming to my mind. And I realize, if my mother is calling me a B or a whore, I'm promiscuous as all outdoors. I have a broken relationship with my father. So yes, I'm looking in all the wrong places for love. And all of that led to my lifestyle. This is coming to me. The thoughts are flooding my mind. And one day I realized that if I did not change my inner voice and start paying attention to how I was talking to myself about myself that I was going to continue to live as that little girl that was told all those ugly things. So I trained myself. If I heard my mother say, "You're nothing but a bitch," I would tell myself, "I love you." And at first it was extremely uncomfortable. At first I did not believe it at all. At first I couldn't look in the mirror. I mean, it took years. It was a period of depression. I mean, you name it, all the things that you have to go through when you're healing. And so I started doing that. And I started believing that. And then that started powering me to set goals, small goals. I started accomplishing goals. I started setting bigger goals. And it goes on and on. It's like a domino effect. But the one thing that I've really learned is words. So having a 25 to life sentence, most of you already know on the Zoom today. For those of you that don't, you're on a higher custody level, which means you have to count more throughout the day than those who have a lower sentence. So I had to be in my room at nighttime by about 7:30. I'm done for the day for a special count. And I was supposed to be on that custody level until 2014. And people would ask me, "Kelli, when are you going to get off of closed custody?" And I would say, if I was going to be here, I would get off in 2014. So if you're hearing me, I was released in 2009. I was responding to people. If I was going to be here, I would get off in 2014. I spoke into existence, me not being there to get off of closed custody in 2014. Now I know out of the mouth, praise and cursing should not come. However, and I say that for the language that I used, however, I realized that if God can make the world by saying, "Let there be light," that showed me how powerful words are. And if we can just learn to be our own best friend, one word that I absolutely cannot stand is the word stupid. I talk to the youth, I talk to the ladies often. Stupid is such a negative word. How many of you guys have forgotten to do something and said, "Oh, that was so stupid of me"? How many times have you called yourself stupid for doing something that you forgot to do, should have done, just an honest mistake, but yet you call yourself stupid? Why can't it just be a mistake? Why can't it be, "Oh, I forgot"? Would you allow somebody else to just come to you and call you stupid? I would like to guess most of us would not allow someone to stand in our face and call us a name. So if you wouldn't allow someone else to call you a name, why are you calling yourself a name? So how we talk to ourselves, about ourselves, is so freeing. So here is a little technique I would like to use with you guys. So I'm going to share with you what I need you to do. And at a certain point, those of you that feel comfortable enough to do this, I'm going to ask that you unmute your mic when we get there. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Using your inside voice. See, because you can't fight you can't fight thoughts with thoughts. So you have two voices. You have this voice that's telling you everything that's wrong, and you have this voice that's barely audible that's trying to say, "Oh, that's not true. Oh, yes, you can." And you have that dominant negative voice that's almost screaming in your head, telling you everything that's wrong and how you can't do it. And you're trying to fight these two voices in your head, but you can't fight negative thoughts with thoughts. You have to fight thoughts with words, spoken words. So using your inside voice, I'm going to ask you to count to 10. And once you get to 10, if you can say out loud, "I love myself." So again, when I'm going to count us to 3, and when I say go, everyone use their inside voice to count to 10, and out loud with your mouth. Once you get to 10, can you please say, "I love myself"? So I'm going to count us off. 1, 2, 3.
Love myself.
Myself.
Love myself.
Love.
Okay, now if you can
I
mute,
love
we get a lot of feedback. Okay, so can everyone mute to kill the feedback?
Oh, cool. Me and my
Okay.
daughter been thinking about buying a bike.
So if you notice, once you said, I love myself out loud, once you opened your mouth and you spoke a word, your thought process closed down and you weren't thinking 11, 12. Your thoughts closed once you opened your mouth and said something. So if you want to kill those negative thoughts that continue to tell you, you won't find a job, you won't be able to do this, people are never going to trust you, look at your past, you're going to ever be judged. I mean, all those negative things that can definitely come upon us because of our past. If you want to get control of your life and if you want to silence that negativity, I strongly, strongly suggest that you use the power of spoken word to change the direction of your life, because it is your destiny. Where you came from does not determine where you go. Thank you.
Give it up for KT, you guys. I love that. That was an excellent exercise. Thank you. Mirror, mirror, what do I say? Thank you, Kelly. So we have Evangelist Georgia Horton, right? So as I think that Kelly gave us at least what we would call a coping skill. So Miss Georgia, which is Evangelist Georgia Horton, can you please share with us a little bit about coping and what coping skills are? I see that she's on the phone. I hear you. I can hear you, Miss Georgia. Miss Georgia, can you hear us? I think that Miss Georgia is still having technical difficulties, and if she is, Miss Georgia, I apologize for that. Hello? Miss Georgia? Man, I'm sorry, Miss Georgia. I can't hear Miss Georgia. But if anybody knows Miss Georgia, she is like super, super powerful. Very powerful. Do me a favor. If you guys can hear Miss Georgia, give me a head nod and tell me that you can hear her speaking. But if you can't, then shake your head like this so I'll know that if she's able to. Okay, so we just gonna have to move forward, and hopefully we can get Miss Georgia in on another one of our
If there is no arugula, then can you just please refund ?
Oh, wait a minute, somebody ordering arugula? Is that what? Okay, so okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so Miss Georgia was talking about coping skills, in which Miss Kelly Turner actually took us through one thing that she uses to cope. And what is coping skills, right? So what coping skills are is to invest in one's own conscious effort to solve personal and interpersonal problems in order to try to master it. Hold on.
What I was trying to say is that I couldn't hear, but if she could me, if she could just now I just couldn't hear her after she had called.
Yes.
My value, and that's my value.
Okay, so here's the thing, Miss Georgia. Are you able to see the PowerPoints?
I never see. I can see Kelly. All I can see, and all I've ever been able to see is Kelly.
Okay. Okay, then. I'm sorry. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that because you got to be able to see the PowerPoint. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, it says, what are the coping skills? The coping skills is to invest in one's own conscious efforts to solve personal and interpersonal problems in order to try to master, minimize, or tolerate stress and conflict. The psychological coping mechanisms are commonly termed coping strategies or coping skills. Okay. So we're going to move forward. She was going to talk about institutional coping skills versus reentry, universal coping skills, as well as to identify healthy and unhealthy coping skills. Like I said, we're going to definitely have to get Ms. Georgia back on for the next one of our workshops, because you're really missing out on some amazing information that she has for you. So let's talk about formerly incarcerated, getting out and staying out, right? So with that being said, is that we have, how do you overcome these challenges that we've already shared? Some of the things from, as Josiah says, transitioning from one world to another. As I spoke about, trying to adjust to family dynamics. Cardi says that, what about the PTSD that you have when certain things come up that may be normal for other people, but may not be normal for us? And then KT says that, how do you silence those things that take you back after you are trying to get a hold of your growth? And so now Brother Khalid Shah, Brother Khalid Shah is going to talk about overcoming the challenges of reentry and your past. I got to say, Brother Khalid, I just want to know which one is you. Which one is you right here, brother? Because there's some fine brothers on this picture right here. And I really want to know which one is you. Which one are you? Brother
Top
Khalid.
middle, I bet. Top middle.
Oh, where Brother Khalid at? You on? Oh, where did he go? You see him? Do you see Brother Khalid?
Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes. Oh, there you go. I was like, please don't say we lost you too. So, Brother Khalid,
I was saying that I still like wearing hats and dark glasses. That was back in the day, but
man, but I don't know. I don't know, Brother Khalid. Right. You know how I'm looking at you right here on the video. I'll run up and hug you. But I don't know if I would have ran up and gave you a hug right now, Brother Khalid, looking like that.
But believe it or not, sister, I was on a journey, and that journey was with a number of other brothers throughout the California Department of Corrections to try to better themselves. We may look like one thing, but in our minds, we were in a process of change, you know, and that picture right there represents that evolution from where we were to ultimately where we were trying to go. And so, you know, I just first want to say that I am honored to be on this panel with such dynamic individuals. Heard some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things. So thank you guys so much for everything that you've done and that you continue to do. And we know that it is going to continue to be a challenge. But I want to run through this real quickly, sister, because, you know, I know I sent a book of information, but I want to run through it as quickly as possible. In 1972, at DVI, Dual Vocational Institution for Men, a group of brothers, and I made promises to elevate not only ourselves, but to help make our community better if we were blessed to be released. Our goal was basically for those brothers coming behind us to clarify the mistakes that we made instead of glorifying the experience, because a lot of brothers go out there and tell these youngsters, you know, stuff that's not true, talking about places they haven't been and things they've never done. So we wanted to make sure that we gave them the real. During that time, I spent almost 3 years in various housing units, SHU units throughout the California Department of Corrections. And while there, I experienced two life-changing events. One was the impact of the trauma resulting from being institutionalized. And a lot of times we don't even realize what that trauma is, but you know, we deal with it every day when, as we move forward. And then the second thing was the power of the resiliency, which helped me to overcome the experience of that incarceration. And I really want to talk about the resiliency, but I'm going to go and say that there's a saying that when I was young, I wanted to change the world, which we were all trying to do, even back then. When I became older and wiser, I wanted to change myself. And so I had to develop some strategies for reentry and coping with trauma. And those were basically 4 things: being true to oneself. My reentry, like everybody else said, started years before I actually was released from prison. I needed to be honest with myself about what I wanted out of life, where I wanted to go, my strengths, my weaknesses, what life had to offer me, and what, some of the mistakes that I had dealt with. Not being afraid to reach out, and then not being afraid to feel inadequate about or insecure about accepting advice for other folks. And then most importantly, having a plan. Having that plan actually meant having a short-term, medium, and long-range plan that was realistic, feasible, and attainable. I spoke about coming to grips with that trauma, which was deeply distressing because I spent a number of years in the hole. And I saw a lot of things that I don't want to get into right now because, I'm sure you guys know about the violence and some of the other things that happened inside those walls and inside that situation. And some of the things that we had to be a part of just to survive created a lot of trauma. But I had to come to grips with that reality too. But finally, in 1985, I was released and hit the ground running. And despite a lot of challenges that I had, I was blessed to get a job at Martin Luther King Hospital. I was blessed by this beautiful sister named Rose Brown, who's no longer with us, but who understood that I couldn't get a job nowhere else. I had gotten my certificate in radiology, a certificate in welding, spent 4 years in college. Before I went, I hadn't completed my high school diploma, so I spent that time trying to prepare myself for when I eventually would get out. And then in 1989, in keeping with the promise that I made to those brothers and I made to myself, we started Stop the Violence, Increase the Peace Foundation. And again, I want to run through this real quickly because the focus was to advocate on behalf of our folks in the community and basically be able to provide services. Let me say this, Kelli. When I talk about community support, I feel blessed, and I give all praises to God every day for the people that came to my aid and to the aid of other brothers and sisters who are around us. We were blessed to raise millions of dollars to give back to our communities, work with agencies in San Bernardino, Riverside, New York, New Jersey. We were just blessed, man. We were just blessed to do some positive things that I never even imagined that I would be able to do. But again, this was all part of a plan that started before I got out. So the advocacy work took us to various schools. We worked with over 60 agencies in the Inland Empire, working in schools. San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, it gave us nearly $500,000 to do work in developing that coalition. We received another $500,000 from the California Wellness Foundation and a number of other private funders. But before we got any of that, one of the first people that reached out to us was our Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who looked at us and said, look, at the end of the day, man, we gotta support these brothers. And that sister, man, I love that sister to this day. Her, Brother Danny Bakewell, folks like Herb Weston, Supervisor Yvonne Brathwaite-Burke, who I love endlessly, because this sister fought for us when we couldn't even fight for ourselves. One of the things that blesses me to think about was we were able to take some of those resources and take some of our youth to travel internationally to Japan, places like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We were able to sit down with other young people from all around the world and do a prayer at the spot where they dropped the bomb at Hiroshima. And that was just like mind blowing. I never in my wildest dream would imagine that I would be doing some of that work. But at the end of the day, I planned for that work, and God blessed us to make it happen. So, as we talk about, for me, as we talk about, just being prepared, again, some of the things that I heard were, familiar, just very familiar. Preparation starts not at the moment of impact, but preparation starts years before and being honest with oneself, dealing with the trauma, dealing with the anxiety, and then understanding that every step of the way is a fight. Every step of the way is a battle, because like Sister Kelli said, you know, you're going to hear loud and clear the voices that's telling you that you can't do it, but you got to tell yourself the exact opposite. So, you know, again, I'm open to questions. You know, mine was a book, you know, so you have to forgive me. And we had a lot of information, but I just wanted to, first of all, just re-emphasize some of the things that have already been said, that the work that has been done was because there was preparation, there was blessings, and we had a great, great, great outpouring of support from our community. And that's pretty much where we're at.
Thank you, Brother Khalid. I appreciate that. You said you're open up from questions, but I'm pretty sure everybody has the question of how you get a hold of that $1 million check. You know what I'm saying? How do you get one of them $1 million checks? Get somebody to trust you to give you $1 million check. But that
Kelli, can I just add to that?
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of stuff in between, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but you know, we put in a lot of work. We put in a lot of work for our community. And the beautiful thing about what we were able to do is we were a bunch of agencies not competing against each other, but working together.
Right. Thank you.
People saw that and they trusted it.
How long? So you've been home for 40, how many years you been home, Brother Khalid?
Since 1985.
1985, my God.
Never gone back.
Never gone back. And see, so all the things that you see right here, like everything you see right now, is the efforts that we all talked about, meaning that you have to go through some of those storms. You have to continue to tell yourself and look at yourself in the mirror, as Kelli said, and begin to pour life into yourself in order to push. I've been home for 10 years, and this has not been an easy road. I've shed tears while I've grabbed diplomas, I mean degrees. I have lost, you know, basically been homeless while I had the keys to two different two different offices. And so there's a lot of challenges that will keep you from getting to the point of achieving your goal. But you got so much to give. Like, don't get me wrong, we love people who educate themselves and get the degrees, but your lived experience, it is much needed out here for that peer support and that other extra thing of knowledge. So we've talked about a lot today, and we're down to our last like 10 minutes or so. But before we do, I wanted to invite Miss Vanessa Lewis, who we talked about earlier, and you guys got a chance to introduce, because she works with formerly incarcerated people. And we've talked about a lot of trauma today. We've had to go back in the reservoirs of our mind and think about what was it like to be that first stepping out and be formerly incarcerated. So I want us to be grounded before we leave this conference and this virtual reality and sisterhood. Let us be grounded. So Miss Vanessa Lewis, are you there?
Oh, I am here with y'all.
All right. Miss Vanessa. So take it from here, Miss Vanessa.
Ashe. So before I get into it, I just want to take a second and say thank you to every single person on this call. Thank you, Kelli, for organizing this. My mom is Candy Lewis. Thank you, Mama.
I can see it.
Thank you, Mama, for facilitating this. To all the speakers, y'all were so powerful. Y'all were so vulnerable. Y'all were fucking magic. And let me tell you what makes you magic. You went through the ringer. You had 1 million voices and 1 million institutions against you who worked so hard. Like, these systems were created on our backs. They worked hard to hold you down. And you could have chose anger. You could have chose resentment, but you chose love. You chose to love yourself into healing, and you chose to use love to create a platform for your community to heal. And that's what I call a superhero. So I just want to take 5 seconds, unmute your mic, and clap for the superheroes on this call. Make some noise.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Powerful.
That's right.
Yes.
Now, like God says, I'm a jealous God, so put your mute on silent and come back to me. So, you know, the next group of people I want to celebrate are all the people who called in. Ken spoke, and Ken talked about being a listener. And I think one of the most beautiful gifts that we can give each other is to listen to each other, to hear each other, to hold space for each other, to learn from each other so we can create a world where we can all thrive. And when I think of everybody who's on this call, who called in to listen and learn, y'all are also superheroes. Y'all are also people who are trying to heal and who are trying to create healing. So we're gonna unmute ourselves again, and we are gonna celebrate all that you are, all that you're bringing, and all you have to give. Yes! Celebrate yourself. Voice for you. Lift you up. That's right. That's right. And when we talk about tools and techniques, this celebrating of ourselves is most important because as we learned from so many of the speakers, especially I think Kelli, KT is what we call, Katie, you know, we heard about all the negative things that people will say to us and about us. People who love us the most often amplify all of our mistakes, all of our hurt, all of our problems. They feed into shame, and oppression thrives because of shame. But using our voice to celebrate ourselves is what fights the shame, what fights the oppression, what fights the past trauma, which creates a powerful bubble to protect you from all the inevitable bullshit that is coming our way. We know it. Humans ain't perfect. Ain't nobody on this planet perfect. We are gonna cause harm. We are gonna make mistakes. We are gonna hurt ourselves and each other. So how do we practice loving ourselves in the face of that? How do we practice celebrating ourselves? I want you to take a second right now and think about something beautiful you did today. Something sweet you did.
Uh-oh, she froze right there.
Man, the devil is a lie. The devil is a
Oh,
lie.
yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
And Vanessa, come back to us. Oh my God, I was reclaiming myself right now.
That's right. Thank yourself for that. Celebrate yourself for all these things. So I have the privilege, y'all. I have the privilege and the blessing of working with the Young Women's Freedom Center to create a healing arts retreat for formerly incarcerated women, non-binary people, and trans people. Our beautiful, gorgeous, sexy, magical, dynamic Cardi was a part of that, holding it down. We've been meeting so far for 3 weeks, many hours, many days each week. And let me tell you about these sisters I work with. We have not had one fight. We've had no drama, no disagreement. Everybody came on here to heal and to love. These women, these non-binary people, these trans people were supporting each other. We're caring for each other. When somebody lost their housing, they got to stay with one of their siblings. I learned love from these women and these people that I've worked with. I've learned healing from these people that I've worked with. I've learned humility. We are not in competition. We are here to serve each other's liberation. And that means that we have to constantly be in movement to serve our own liberation. So I'm gonna do a little activity with you, a little grinding. We will do the grinding for the after party right now. We're gonna do a little grounding activity to just sit in our joy and our gratitude and offer some love to ourselves. So if you can, I want you to close your eyes. Maybe bring your eyes down soft. And I want you to take in a deep breath through your nose And let all that air move through your lungs. Hold it for a few seconds and breathe out slow with a sigh, like this. And as you're breathing out, imagine all the stress, all the hurt, all the pain you might be carrying. Just leaving out of your mouth and know that the universe is big and it can hold you. And the earth is strong and it's there to support you. And as you breathe in, I want you to breathe in the love of this earth, the love of your family that's on this screen, the love of the activists that are here speaking to you. Breathe in the love of transformation. Breathe in the love of compassion. And let out the voice of any energy, any force that is gonna get in the way of your shine. Breathe out the memories of people that have hurt you and breathe in the memories of people that have loved you unconditionally. And I want you to think about yourself. Little baby you that maybe didn't get protection. Baby you that maybe felt misunderstood. Baby you that maybe felt alone. And I want you to just think of love, feel love, and direct love from baby you. You speak to baby you with sweetness, and you tell baby you, little Vanessa, I love you. Let me hear you say it, Kelly. Little Kelly, I love you.
I love you, little Kelly.
That's right. I want to hear you say, little Candy, you are worthy of love. Let me hear you say it, Candy.
Little Candy, you are worthy of love.
You are worthy of protection.
I am worthy of protection.
That's right. You are worthy of forgiveness. And the person who can love you the most is you. So you just keep loving you. And you keep thinking about yourself with softness and sweetness and tenderness. And know, I'm gonna real quick, softness is the strongest force in the world. You throw something soft on the ground and it does not break. Glass will break, a brick will break, but love cannot be broken. So you lean into that. Ashe and amen.
Ashe. I'm feeling so much. Woo, thank you. I'm so glad that we ended with you, Vanessa. I am so thankful. I'm just thankful for everybody. I'm just thankful for everybody. Josiah is going to take us home. Josiah, can you close us out with some of the things that you just want to leave some of the people that are on here that are formerly incarcerated?
Oh, absolutely. First, let me say I'm just full. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, I can.
You can hear me?
Yeah, so
okay,
we're going to close it out with you, Brother Josiah.
Okay, it's been a great journey. We've been in a real vulnerable space. I'm feeling all the love, and I kind of want to close out with a bit of a love conversation. Especially upon reentry, it's not what you know, but who you know. Everybody knows that. It's an old adage, and it's important for us to be connected. So we're working on our connectivity, involving developing relationships and networking and creating your own path if need be. As we come out, a lot of times we look for programs that help us, and I just want to be clear. It's not so much about programs, it's more about relationships. So as you're searching for resources and doing what you need to do to get where you're trying to go, make sure you're getting to know people on an intimate level, and that you're being honest and vulnerable, and you get with people that can help you get to where you're going. And don't be afraid to create your own path. Each one of us on this call, and especially those of us who've been incarcerated, we have a lot to give to the world and to society, and don't allow anyone to make you think otherwise. And I'll close with that.
All right. Thank you, guys. Before we go, we have one last person who wants to speak. I believe her name is Miss Deborah. Hold on, Deborah Anders. So, Miss Deborah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Queen. Thank you.
Okay. So go ahead on and share before we close out.
Yes, just was really in tears of joy hearing my people. I think this is a very powerful conversation. I am a part of Stop the Violence family. Thank you for inviting me. This is tears of joy. I'm so glad when my people come together because we have so much power in our love for one another. So I wasn't expecting to be on, but what I am left with is Miss Katie, her explaining the voices in her head, and the powerful sister that just left for us to get into ourselves and our energy. I enjoyed that. I will always remember Mr. Josiah is, having concern about the brothers and what they go through, because inside things are done for them, but outside things are expected of them. So I think this is a good conversation that we're having, that we can empower these brothers and sisters when they come out, that we can prepare them for the outside. This information that was shared with your different speakers, they need to know these things. They need to be encouraged. You know, what platform, I was wondering when I first came on, what is the purpose of this conversation that I'm involved in right now? Because right now, we have a lot of conversations, but I'm ready for action, right? As far as our people are concerned. So I was thinking, like, are we in the incarceration? Are we in the jails, like we're providing this information for them? People need to be encouraged. What are we doing in the community to really encourage people about the information that you guys have shared? So I love you, my people, and I love being on this conversation. Please keep me posted. I will always make time to come back. And blessings to all you kings and queens. Thank you for having me.
Peace to you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. All right, thank you, Ms. Deborah. So here are some of your resources that's here. As we said before, if you want to get in touch with anybody specifically, you guys can say, I want to speak to Brother Khalid, I want to speak to Brother Josiah or Miss Kelli Turner or Cardi or Vanessa, and then we'll provide you their information. Here are some of the local resources that we have. For the youth, we have the Youth Justice Coalition. We have the Young Women's Freedom Center, the Los Angeles Regional Reentry Program. As Khalid just said, he increase the peace. That's especially for those who are the Downtown Women's Center. Thank you, Ms. Shanette. The Downtown Women's Center. So there's many resources here, but also if you look in the middle, you'll see www.211la.org/reentry, and they will actually navigate you to whatever specific resources that you need while in reentry. So whether if you're reentry, you need substance.
We lose Kelly?
Else, but yeah.
We lost Kelly, everyone, but Kelly is about to get back on. I don't know what happened. I think she muted herself. So I'm just going to say this has been fabulous. I really want to take a moment and just say thank you to all of the guests, all of the speakers. You've touched our hearts. And for you to come on and be so transparent and honest, this was what we needed. And as Sister Deborah wanted to know, well, what's the purpose? The purpose is to share the knowledge, because no one speaks truth. They speak in tongues and there's circles all around it, you know, but you all are doing the work and you're speaking the truth and you make a difference. Kelly, are you back on? Nope, I think we lost Kelly. So thank you all so much for your time. We will be sending copies of this video out, and we hope that you will share it on your network and with everyone. And so wait, here comes Miss Kelly.
Bye, you guys.
Sorry. Best, everyone. Bye. Thank you all so much.
Bye.
Candy Lewis,
Yes.
are you going to stay on for a sec? You're one of the main hosts, aren't you? Can you stay on for a moment?
Yes, I will.
All right, I appreciate you.